Hey, this is Dennis McMahon. Welcome to Positively Vermont. And today we are going to be speaking about the world famous Tango Music Festival. And my guests today are Jisoo Oak, the executive director, and Hector del Curto, the artistic director and Grammy Award winner, who are going to be speaking about this marvelous event, which is going to be taking place on August 19th through August 22nd on a hybrid format based in beautiful Stowe, Vermont. And welcome, Hector and Jisoo. And would you mind just familiarizing our audience with each of your backgrounds and interests? So, Jisoo, if you would start, please.
Sure. Hello, my name is Jisoo Oak, and I'm the executive director of the Stowe Tango Music Festival. We've been running the festival since 2014, and as you can see, I don't look like a typical person who will be playing tango music, but I married Hector, my husband, and I'm from classical background. I play cello, and I met Hector back in 2007.
2005.
2005. And yeah, since then I fell in love with tango music and been performing tango. And we built the festival together. It's at the beginning it was quite small, and then it grew and grew, and now we have musicians from all over the world, from Finland, from Korea, Japan. So we train musicians to play tango music, and we put a show together. But this year we won't have the show, but we will have a small version of it.
Great. Well, Hector, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, good morning, Dennis, and it's very, very nice to see you. We missed you last year, and my name is Hector del Curto, and I'm a bandoneon player. Bandoneon is like a concertina, but bigger. It's not an accordion, but many people confuse the instrument with an accordion. It's an instrument that was created in Germany for to perform classical music, but somehow it traveled all the way to Buenos Aires to play tango in the bordellos. So my instrument and the music that I play was born between the port of Buenos Aires and Montevideo, Argentina and Uruguay. And that happened with the immigration, mainly European immigration, but it also has African roots, and it has a little bit of everything. And today, we'll talk a little bit about that too, but it has a little bit more of everything: classical music, jazz music. My grandfather was a bandoneon player, and my great-grandfather was also a bandoneon player and a composer. And he had an orchestra called the Típica Jazz del Curto Taranto, where they played tango music as well as jazz music. So I've been playing the instrument for about 40 years. And I have a group, I have a quintet that was a quartet before I met Jisoo. And when I met Jisoo, we started to perform together. We formed this quintet, but we also danced tango. And that was the way that today we have a 13-year-old son called Santiago, Santi, and he plays clarinet. So this is a family of musicians. So that's what we do.
That's great. We had Santiago on the show several times in the past years, and I understand he's still working at it.
Oh, he's still working on more than before. So he has been doing a lot of things with classical and as well as jazz. He played in a big band this summer. Um, yeah, so he has been working on the clarinet, and that's his instrument, his passion. He loves the stage. Um, so it seems like he will continue his journey with the clarinet.
That's great. Well, this festival has been around in Stowe for several years, and why don't you tell us all about how it all got started and how did it wind up in Stowe, Vermont?
Do you want to tell him or?
Well, I guess we can tell together.
Okay.
So we how do we
We had coffee.
coffee.
And many things in tango happen through coffee. And we were having coffee with who is the chairman of the Argentine Tango Society in Manhattan. And we started to talk about tango. The Argentine Tango Society had before some concerts and small version of a festival, which was probably, I think, 2 days or something like that. But we said, okay, he mentioned that, why don't we make Stowe the capital of tango? And so when I heard that, I said, well, if that's what you want to do, I think we will do it. And that's how we started creating the festival and to try to form musicians and to perform and show the world a little bit more about this amazing music.
So back then in 2014, there was really not many places where you can get hands-on to learn tango music. Like Hector was born in Argentina and he had family who play tango music, but someone like me who loves tango music, and I really wanted to play with the real, tango musicians. For someone like me, I had no guidance. I was at Juilliard and I started, New York is a great melting pot, right? So I started contacting musicians that I saw that they were playing tango music, tango dance music, not piazzolla. So that's how I got into and how I got introduced to meet Hector. Yeah. And the reason from my experience also, I really wanted to start this festival for people like me who are in conservatories to come and learn how to play tango music better.
Maybe you could,
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, maybe you can explain also the way tango has kind of increased its, expanded to other genres or influenced other genres and other types of instruments. The basic elements being the bandoneon and the piano and the violins. But tell us how tango manages to encompass more than what it started out with.
Well, the first thing is that people associate tango with the bandoneon. Whenever somebody hears a bandoneon, whether it's tango or not, they will think about tango, they will think about Buenos Aires. But tango didn't start with bandoneon. So tango was music that was played by violin, flute, guitar, harp, and bandoneon came in the game later on. And from that point on, the instrument was not very popular as for what was created, which was classical music and church music. And but tango made it its own voice. So that's why you hear the color of the sound of the instrument, and you think about Buenos Aires. Many people think about Paris as well, and that is not completely wrong because the music of tango was it's mainly has European influences. So you had, in those times, orchestras will play all kinds of rhythms, and they will play tarantella, they will play polkas. Then there was the jazz part, they will play also jimmies, two steps, many different rhythms. But that made the music had its own flavor with all these different rhythms, and as well as something called the milonga. Milonga is a kind of a happy rhythm that tango has, and that comes from African roots. So from the get going, tango had a lot of influences, but in we'll say already in the 40s, late 40s, there was somebody called Astor Piazzolla, who was playing traditional tango with one of the most famous orchestras, who was Aníbal Troilo. But at the same time, he was born in Mar del Plata. It's a city in the coast of Buenos Aires. And when he was 5 years old, he moved to the US, and he lived in New York. And he started to work with one of the most famous singers, who was Carlos Gardel. But not as a bandoneon player. He started to work as extra in the movies. And that's how he started to get involved with tango. And but he learned a lot about jazz, and he learned a lot about classical music. In his development as a musician, he studied in France with Nadia Boulanger. And he started to get all those influences from what he learned into the music of tango. And by the way, I think it's worth to mention that this year is the 100th anniversary of his birth.
Yes.
Of Astor Piazzolla's birth.
Yes, I've seen that.
So,
yes.
yeah. But we do have to go back to the traditional tango, which is what the Argentine Tango Society it's trying to preserve and develop as well. So that was the danceable tango. So Astor Piazzolla make things a little bit more sophisticated and in terms of harmonies and rhythms, but that made it a little bit less danceable.
Mhm.
And so we kind of went into a direction where tango was more of concert music than dance music. So the important thing is to recognize that whatever happened after all the development, the sophistication of the music, is based on that traditional tango.
Mhm.
And one to know how to play new tango needs to know the traditional tango. And so that's mainly our mission in at the Stowe Tango Music Festival as well.
Well,
So
Jisoo,
we,
uh,
yes,
Jisoo,
go ahead.
you have an interesting perspective on that because you were
Yes.
classically trained as a cellist, correct? And how does that
Yes.
meld into what Hector was talking about?
Well, when I was at Juilliard, for me, you know, in my downtown time, didn't want to listen to classical music. So I bought a CD. It's a soundtrack from the Tango Lessons. It's the movie. So in there, I listened to some music. It has a collage of different tango orchestras and things. And there's a track with Yo-Yo Ma playing Piazzolla. But I wasn't interested in that so much. I mean, Liber Tango is very famous, so I knew the piece. But I fell in love with music like Gallo Ciego, Zoom, and yeah, those tracks that I fell in love, and that those orchestras, those two tracks, was recorded by Osvaldo Pugliese
Mhm.
Orchestra, which Hector was in. So I had no clue when I was listening to these tracks in my dorm room at Juilliard that I was going to end up, um, spending my life with somebody who was in that orchestra. So it's an interesting personal story.
That's good. You mentioned a few names, and I listen to tango music almost daily. And thanks to the introduction you gave me many years ago, and you mentioned some really famous people who the music is just absolutely fantastic. You know, not only the orchestration, but just the lasting nature, and of course the singing too, the singing
Mhm.
as well. And so tango has something for everybody, I think.
Yes, tango is it's a music that if you would like to listen, there's a lot of tango to sit down and listen. And if you like to dance, it's music that it's simple enough that you can get going on the dance floor fairly quickly. Of course, there are people who go into it for years and years, and they get more complex, and they have these fancy and crazy steps, which you are not supposed to do when you dance socially,
Hmm.
because that's more of a show off than trying to be part of a community. But that is for the dance. But you also have um, lyrics. Of course, if you don't know the language, it's difficult to understand what they are saying. But the just the melodic lines
Hmm.
are very captivating. So people can listen to tango and enjoy it just for those melodies without understanding the lyrics. And the reason why it's proven that tango has anything for everybody is that all over the world you have places where people dance to tango, and there are people who are collectors, big collectors, like in Japan you have big collectors of tango, and Mexico. So all over the world there are people that love tango very, very much, and they enjoy listening to it. Some others enjoy dancing to it.
That's great. Let's talk about the Stowe Tango Music Festival this year. Unfortunately, it was canceled in 2019 or 2020 rather. But tell us what's going to happen on August 19th. It's going to run from August 19th through August 22nd in Stowe. Tell us what's going to happen. I understand there's going to be in-person and virtual events. So why don't you both take us through what's going to happen?
So I believe on the 19th, the Thursday, we have the documentary of Julio Pane, right? Who was
Yes.
Hector's teacher, and he also came 2019, right?
Yeah,
he came to Stowe in 2019.
The goal of the festival is to bring the maestros from Argentina. So, and people will have the experience of playing with them, learning from them, and people who don't play an instrument, they had the experience of listening to these people. And Julio Pane is one of the greatest bandoneon players. He actually had many students like me that today are great bandoneon players, and not like me. But so we have his documentary that talks about his music, his life. It's also produced by the Argentine Tango Society. And then on Friday,
we have a Tango Jam, a free event. So that's going to happen at 7 p.m. And right after, we're going to watch a documentary of Marabu, which is a Tango Carabat. It's still they're still using it for tango events. And then
so the Marabu is a cabaret that was that hosts all the best orchestras of the golden age of tango, and they made their debut. Somebody like Aníbal Troilo, who was one of the most famous orchestras, but also it's not only a documentary, because we have interviews to somebody like Jose Colangelo, who was a pianist of that orchestra, and we have also the Orquesta Romántica Milonguera, who this orchestra portrays that sound of the 40s, and it's very danceable, and they have actually they're very, very detailed in trying to bring the flavor from that time. And so that's a Romantic Milonguera. And we'll have a little bit of history of the Marabu, where we will see what was it about. And also it's showing the new Marabu, which is fully renovated. And the Marabu belongs to the Argentine Tango Society, was rescued from an auction that they were going to turn it down and make a fancy building. But the Argentine Tango Society rescued the place, and it was already closed for many years, but now is very, very alive, having concerts and milongas, which is the dance place for people to socialize and to dance socially.
So that Tango Jam is going to start on Friday the 20th, and it's going to be at 1880 Mountain Road in Stowe.
yes,
Your Coffee, is that a store or
it's a
restaurant?
coffee shop.
Oh, okay. Gira Coffee at 1880 Mountain Road in Stowe. And then you're going to have the watch party that you just described.
Exactly.
That's going to be on Friday. Now, we're going to get to something that Hector is going to run. Tell us about this musicality workshop on Saturday, the 21st.
The musicality workshop is to introduce people to the music of tango. I do, during COVID, first of all, we are always at your studio. This is my studio, and this studio, I built it during COVID, and I built it myself with my neighbor from the ground up. And so the reason why I built it, it was to stream to students and to general audience. We had interviews to these maestros throughout the year, And I also have on Wednesdays, I'm streaming that is called Why Does It Sound So Good? And in that streaming, we listen to different orchestras from the old times and from the new times. And we talk a little bit about what is that makes it so interesting. So, and if it can be fun, it can be something that brings memories to people. It can be sophisticated in the sense that musicians really like to go into details of what's going on in the orchestra. And the workshop, actually, it's going to be kind of a representation of this streaming. Why does it sound so good?
Mhm. And tell us about this dance workshop that you're going to be having.
So we are bringing Aldo and his partner.
Saldo Romero is a great dancer from Argentina.
Yeah. So they will be teaching 2 dance workshops. So the dancers can get their feet moving. We have a lot of dance community that comes to our festival as the audience member. So we're trying to basically, musicians and dancers, we have kind of separate worlds, but we're trying to put it together. So that's how we put it, like starting with the musicality workshop with Hector, and then let them dance and learn new steps.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, tell us about this. I understand there's going to be an event at the Palais de Glace. What is that going to be, the concert, or what's going to happen there?
Yes, that will be the concert. Now, I have to make clear that we have very limited seating, and we also require vaccination and masks. So we want to make that clear from the beginning. We don't want people to get surprised when they get at the door. For us, it's a very difficult time where we like to have everybody and for people to have fun, but we must be really careful on what we do this year. So we are taking all the measures that we can to make it a good event where people can enjoy it, but at the same time where we can be safe.
Yes, I want to mention that it's mentioned on the website for the festival about the vaccinations and about the masking and the other health requirements. But despite that, you're going to do your best to create the atmosphere that you had prior to 2020. So what's going to be, tell us the elements of the festival concert. What can people expect on that program and the festival Milonga afterwards?
So for the concert, Hector's quintet, which includes me and
And
4
it's
other
a
members,
sextet,
3 other
which is
members.
our son
Oh,
also
yeah.
will be playing
Santi
with us.
will be playing too. And we will have a special guest joining us. And she's flying from Germany. So
Yeah,
her-
it's very interesting what has been happening during COVID. We have more and more people trying to get into tango somehow, and mainly there are many new bandoneon players who want to learn bandoneon. It happens to be that this violin player, who is somebody that I perform with, is a classical concert violin player, and she started to learn bandoneon during COVID, and she comes as a student, but she will be also performing, and she's an amazing violin player. And we also will have some of the students that have been in the festival for many years, and they are going to be performing with us. And I mean, it's going to be a little bit of Astor Piazzolla celebrating his 100 years of his birthday, but also we'll play traditional tango. And from that, we'll move into the Milonga part, where we will perform strictly traditional tango for the dancers.
That's great. And what do you anticipate as a follow-up? Next year, you're looking forward to perhaps coming back live, and will you be recruiting talent perhaps for future events? Didn't you have a competition, a bandoneon
Yes.
competition in the past. Is that going to happen again this year?
Yes, not this year.
No.
This year, there were two competitions already from different places. One in Italy and one was in US.
But
But
virtually.
yeah, they happen virtually, and it's a little bit difficult to do a competition virtually. Although the first part of a competition is not that difficult. Finals are very. It's something that it's better to be in person, because not only you have the technicalities of playing the instrument, but also the response and reaction from the audience, that feedback that you need as a performer, to be with the live audience, which has been so difficult for all this year. We are all getting used to this. We are getting to the two-dimensional audience, and seeing them probably one at a time, or you see a few faces in there, but when the time for the applause come, everybody's muted.
I know. It's like that it's like that in meetings where someone will give a talk or something like that, and if you're live, people are clapping, and you don't even know it ended. Yeah, I can see the technical aspects of this.
Yes, so you need that in person thing for the competition. And personally, I consider competitions a way to push oneself to move forward in any discipline that you're developing. I don't consider competitions the final word on who is the best or who isn't, because you can be the best one day, you can have a bad day. So competitions in that sense are not something that determine who is the best, but it pushes the musicians to practice more, to concentrate on what are their weaknesses and their strengths. And that is what also makes the Stowe Tango Music Festival move forward in terms of bandoneon playing. In 2014, we started with a very basic level of bandoneon playing. And from 2014 to 2021, the bandoneon players grew immensely. So now we have people who are playing professionally, and we have people who advance a lot, that they can be part of the orchestra.
That's great. Yeah, I remember some of those players coming in, some of your students coming into town meeting television in Burlington. It was just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely magnetic, and it's just a fantastic feeling, like being there in person, and even hearing the sounds of the keys. Not only the notes, but just the manipulation of the instrument. I guess it's all like a learning process as well, I suppose.
It is. It's a very complicated and frustrating process, because bandoneon is not an instrument like any other, where you have an order of the keys so you can figure it out. Bandoneon is all over the place. The notes are mixed. So there is a lot of frustration during the process, and those who go through it, they come out pretty well.
Well, this has really been great to see you again, and hopefully we're going to see you live next year. But we're just taking this for now, and we're going to follow it closely. And we have had with us today Jisoo Oak, the executive director, and Hector del Curto, the artistic director and Grammy Award winner, who are organizing the Stowe Tango Music Festival. That's going to take place in Stowe live and online from August 19th through August 22nd. And we're publishing the web information where people can get tickets and find out other ways how to participate. I also want to mention, do you have any people you'd like to mention? I know you've been getting a lot of support from people in the Vermont community and groups, and they're all listed on your website. But if you want to say anything special about the level of support that's been shown, particularly since this is going to be the first festival in 2 years, anything of that nature you'd like to comment would be good to hear.
Well, first of all, to thank everybody who is supporting the festival. And one of the reasons why is it important is because we want the festival to be part of the Vermont community. It's not just an isolated project, but we bring people to Stowe, we bring people to businesses, and we bring music, and that support to the festival is a great feedback that we receive, and we can say we are doing the right thing or not. But Stowe has been very supportive. We are very thankful to everybody, as we are very thankful to you for having us every year and giving us the opportunity to tell about our festival.
Great. Jisoo, we want to just say something in addition to that? Give us a...
No, that's pretty much it. Yeah, we're just grateful that we can be back this year. I know it's much smaller form, but it's good to be connected.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you perhaps in person and certainly online. And this has been Dennis McMahon for Positively Vermont, discussing the Stowe Tango Music Festival. Thank you for watching.